Chapter 6. The War Beneath the Floorboards. The revelation hit like the winter winds slamming against the manor walls. Blood money, war crimes, a buried past. And now, 2 people dead. 1 nearly. A fortune in danger. A secret worse than murder. Voss stared at Rosalind as she struggled to sit upright, every breath sharp. "I need more than whispers," he said. "If you want me to stop this, I need to know what Wilhelm did." Rosalind looked past him, toward the frost-covered window. "It started in 1944, she said. "Wilhelm was a logistics officer in the Reich. He wasn't just moving cargo, he was moving stolen treasures, paintings, gold, documents, and people." Voss froze. "People?" She nodded. "There were Rumours prisoners made to catalogue loot before being disappeared. Wilhelm denied it. Always. But after the war, the Wintergarten fortune grew. Land. Influence. And a vault beneath this manor that was never officially recorded." "A vault?" Voss said. "Where?" "I only know the entrance is under the floorboards, in the east study, a hatch behind the bookshelf. The forgotten room." Minutes later, Voss was prying up the warped wood panels in the east study. And there it was. A metal hatch, covered in dust, sealed with an old brass lock. It groaned as he forced it open. A cold draught rushed up from the darkness. He lit a lantern, tied it to his coat, and descended the narrow steps into the earth. The vault wasn't a room, it was a catacomb, long and narrow, its walls lined with rusted shelves and heavy crates. He passed boxes marked with museum stamps. Others bore Nazi eagles, hastily scratched out, and at the far end, a stone pedestal. Upon it, a sealed portfolio marked Project Nachtfalke, Night Falcon. He reached for it. The pages that shouldn't exist. The portfolio was brittle. Inside, handwritten records, photographs, orders. Voss flipped through. Dates. 1940. 3. 1944. Locations: Vienna, Kraków, Lviv. Targets: synagogues, private collections. Names: historians, curators, dissidents. Outcome: disposed. It wasn't just theft. It was systematic elimination erased with bureaucratic efficiency. And Wilhelm had overseen all of it. "Good God," Voss whispered. The inheritance wasn't tainted. It was built on bones. A visitor in the vault. A sound behind him. The hatch door creaked. Voss turned, hand on his pistol. A silhouette. Conrad. "I followed you," he said calmly, stepping into the vault. "I had a feeling you'd find it." Voss narrowed his eyes. "You knew about this?" "My whole life," Conrad said. "But it wasn't supposed to matter. My father told me it was all buried, forgotten. He swore none of it would come back." "Then why kill him?" Voss asked. "Why kill Lang?" "I didn't," Conrad snapped. "I only wanted to stop the girl. Elena. If she inherits this scandal. And then the Wintergarten name dies." "It deserves to," Voss said flatly. Conrad's hand twitched at his coat pocket. Voss drew faster. "Don't," he warned. Conrad froze. "I'm not here to kill you," he said. "But I won't let her take this family down. You already have." Conrad turned and fled up the stairs. Voss let him go for now. Elena reads the truth. Back upstairs, Voss laid the documents before Elena. Her face paled as she turned the pages. Photographs of victims. Inventories of stolen lives. Signatures matching Wilhelm's. "This," she whispered. "This is who I am." "No," Voss said. "This is who they were, who they tried to make you." He watched her closely. "No one would blame you for walking away. From the will. The money. The name." Elena didn't answer immediately. Then, "If I walk away, they bury this. Again." She stood. "I won't let that happen." Another attempt. That night, A fire broke out in the east wing. Deliberate. Set just outside the study. Someone wanted the vault destroyed. Voss and Gregor broke it down with axes and soaked the hall in water before the flames spread. Too close. Again. But now Voss was certain. Conrad wasn't acting alone. Someone else had more to lose than just a name. Someone still inside the house. And they were getting desperate. Rosalind's final warning. Rosalind summoned him just before dawn. She looked weaker. Her wound had worsened. "There's something else," she said. "Something Wilhelm never wrote down." Voss leaned in. "There was a man," she said. "Wilhelm's handler, a liaison from Berlin. No name, no records, only a code, SR. Voss froze. "Sebastian Riedel," he said. Rosalind nodded weakly. "He wasn't a guest. He was the one who gave the orders." Dawn in the manor. Voss found Riedel in the conservatory, sipping tea as if nothing had changed. "Working late?" Riedel said without turning. "You lied," Voss said. "About your past. About Wilhelm." Riedel smiled thinly. "You found the vault. I found your name in the ledgers." "And what will you do now?" Riedel asked. "Go to the newspapers? The courts?" "They won't touch this. They never have." "You're right," Voss said. "But I will." He stepped forward. "You poisoned Wilhelm. You strangled Lang. You sent someone after Rosalind." "I'm the clean-up man," Riedel said calmly. "That's what I've always been." Then he rose, slowly, and drew a knife from beneath the tablecloth. Chapter 7. The Knife in the Conservatory. Voss didn't hesitate. His gun was already drawn, steady in his grip. "Don't," he said. Sebastian Riedel paused, the knife gleaming faintly in the morning light that spilled across the frost-covered glass walls of the conservatory. His expression didn't change, still polite, still almost amused. "I didn't come here to kill you, Voss," he said evenly. "If I wanted to, you'd be dead already." "Forgive me if I'm not reassured," Voss replied. "Drop it." Riedel's fingers loosened. The knife clattered to the floor. "I warned Wilhelm," he continued. "I told him that Project Nachfolger would come back to devour him if he didn't bury it deep enough. But he got sentimental. He tried to fix it with that girl." "Elena," Voss said. Riedel nodded. "She's not just his blood. She's proof that legacy survives. And I can't allow that." Voss took a step closer. "You confessed." "To you? Yes, but I doubt you recorded it. And I doubt the authorities will do anything. You know how these things work." Voss didn't reply. Because he did know. An interruption. Suddenly, Gregor Franz burst through the doors, shotgun in hand. "Step away from him," he growled. Voss turned, startled. "What are you doing?" But Riedel only smiled. "I told you I wasn't working alone," he said. Gregor raised the gun. "I've been protecting this family for 30 years, he said. "I bled for them. And I'll be damned if some bastard orphan takes it all away." "Elena's not the threat," Voss said slowly. "She's the consequence. The one your masters forgot to erase." Gregor's eyes twitched. "You helped move the artifacts, didn't you? Helped Wilhelm store them during the war." Gregor didn't deny it. Voss shifted his weight. "If you pull that trigger, you don't just kill me. You bury everything for good. The truth. The legacy. The only chance this family has at redemption." Gregor hesitated. Then Riedel lunged for the knife. Voss fired. 1 shot. 2 outcomes. The bullet struck Riedel cleanly in the chest. He collapsed without a sound, blood seeping into the Persian rug like spilled ink. Gregor looked stunned, then dropped the shotgun. "I didn't sign up for this," he whispered. "I just wanted it all to stay buried." "So did they," Voss said. "But the dead never stay buried. Not here." The final statement. Later that morning, the local authorities arrived, summoned by Rosalind, who had slipped a message through a hidden line the night before. Not all secrets could be kept forever. The vault was documented. The ledger seized. The deaths of Wilhelm, Lang, and now Riedel were officially recorded. Gregor Franz confessed to conspiracy and arson. Conrad denied everything and lawyered up. Brigitta said nothing. She always had been good at silence. The will. When it was over, the estate passed not to Conrad or Brigitta, but to Elena Roth-legally, recognized by a surviving second witness and Rosalind's sworn testimony. She didn't want the manor, or the money. She sold the property, donated the funds to war memorials and survivor foundations, and she kept only one thing, the portfolio marked Project Nachtfalke. For the truth, she told Voss. Even if it never makes the headlines. Departure. 2 weeks later, the snow began to melt. Voss stood by the station, coat buttoned high, a fresh scar on his right shoulder from the conservatory scuffle. Rosalind stood beside him. "Will you stay in Vienna?" she asked. "For now." "Elena asked me to come with her," she said quietly. "To Krakow. There's someone she wants to find. Someone who might have known her mother." Voss nodded. "You should go." Rosalind looked up at him. "And you?" He lit a cigarette, exhaled slowly. "I'll be here. The past has a long shadow." Closing scene. As the train pulled away, Voss watched the snowy tracks stretch into the distance. The Wintergarten Manor loomed behind him, smaller now, quiet. The ghosts had spoken, and for once, someone had listened. Chapter 8. Echoes in Krakow. The snow in Krakow was different, heavier, more solemn, as if it remembered. Elena stepped off the train beside Rosalind, the cold air biting through her coat, her breath rising in pale clouds. The city sprawled before them, grey stone, quiet windows, and a weight that pressed from the very ground. They had come here, chasing a name, not for vengeance, not for money, but for understanding. Elena's mother, Marta Wintergarten, had passed through this city before her disappearance, and somewhere in Krakow's labyrinth of records and ruins, a thread remained, waiting to be pulled. The archive. Their first stop was the Archiwum Państwo, W. Krakowi, the National Archive. Rosalind handed over a folded letter, Wilhelm's handwriting, retrieved from the vault containing reference numbers and shipment codes linked to Project Nachtfalke. The clerk, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, read it in silence. "Most of these files were purged," he said softly, "but some were duplicated, hidden, certain curators. They kept copies." Quietly. He slid them a note with an address. "Ask for Professor Majewski," the curator who remembered. Professor Adam Majewski lived in a cramped apartment above a bookstore, its walls lined with yellowed maps and crumbling dossiers. He wore a wool scarf indoors, though the radiator hissed with heat. "You're here about the Wintergartens," he said, before they even introduced themselves. Elena stiffened. "How do you know?" Majewski smiled faintly. "Because no one asks about Nachtfalke unless they carry its blood." He pulled out a drawer and laid down a photograph. Wilhelm and Marta, standing beside a German transport truck, dated January 1944. They came here to supervise a transfer, but she didn't leave with him. Elena stared at her mother's face. Young, unsuspecting. "She defected?" Rosalind asked. Majewski shook his head. "She tried to steal the manifest. To stop the looting. She was caught." "By whom?" He hesitated, then slid forward a second photo. Sebastian Riedel, standing with SS officers. "He ran the Polish side of Nachtfalke. Your family was just a spoke in the wheel." The underground ledger. Majewski opened a secret compartment beneath the floorboards, another hiding place, like the vault back in Vienna. Inside, a manifest list, handwritten, coded, but legible. It documented a transfer of 58 crates, listed as cultural recovery units. Among them, sacred artifacts from Jewish families, stolen manuscripts, religious heirlooms, and at the bottom, M.W. contained, escorted to Facility 12. Rosalind's face paled. "That's not a crate," she whispered. "No," Majewski confirmed. "That's Marta. She was labeled like one." Facility 12. Facility 12 wasn't a museum. It was a detention site outside Kraków, now abandoned. During the war, it had operated under the camouflage of a storage depot used to interrogate and erase those who tried to resist the artifact operations. Few returned. The journey there was quiet. They walked the snow-covered grounds in silence, Elena clutching the ledger, her steps hesitant but resolute. Inside, the building was hollow, cold. Only broken crates, rusted chains, and fragments of unsent letters remained. Then on a lower floor cell door, left slightly open. On the wall, carved initials, M.W. Below them, a name. For Elena. Her knees buckled. Rosalind caught her before she fell. "She was thinking of you," she whispered. "Even then." The truth surfaces. Majewski helped them file an official request to Poland's Historical Commission. The manifest was accepted as evidence. A project was launched to repatriate the stolen items listed under Nachtfalkenmanie still missing. Elena signed the documents, then requested anonymity. "I don't want recognition," she told the committee. "I want restitution." The letter. In the candlebox. That evening, back in the archive's guest quarters, Majewski handed Elena one last item. "This was hidden in a candlebox from Facility 12, he said. "I never opened it until today." It was a letter, never sent. From Marta. Handwritten. Gentle. "My dearest Elena, if you ever read this, it means they failed to silence everything. You come from darkness, yes, but you are not it. Carry the truth, even if it burns you. Your name is your own. Write it where I could not." Elena folded the letter carefully and held it to her chest. Closing Kraków. When they left Kraków a week later, it wasn't with victory, but with clarity. A story once buried under stone and snow had surfaced. And somewhere in that pain, Elena found her voice. Chapter 9. The Museum of Silence. The exhibit was supposed to be quiet, reverent, a first step in facing the past. But it began with a threat. The Warsaw Museum of Cultural Memory had partnered with the Polish Historical Commission to display a curated portion of the Nachtfalke archive's documents, artifacts, and personal effects recovered through Elena and Rosalind's efforts. The project was titled Whispers in the Crates, Recovering the Lost, and at its center was a single, glass-encased display. Marta Wintergarten's letter to Elena. Opening day. The museum was crowded. Press, historians, survivors, descendants. Elena stood behind the glass, watching visitors move slowly through the aisles. Some wept. Others stared in silence at names they hadn't seen in 80 years. Voss had arrived that morning unannounced, but expected. Rosalind greeted him with a nod. "She's stronger now," she said, "and more dangerous." "She always was," Voss replied. But something in his tone was off. "What is it?" Rosalind asked. He handed her an envelope, unmarked, delivered to his hotel door. Inside, a single sheet of paper, typed. "You are digging into graves that were meant to stay closed. History chooses silence. Choose wisely." There was no signature, only a symbol. The falcon crest. The shadow returns. Later that evening, Elena gave a private talk to a group of scholars and media representatives. The topic, the ethics of uncovering state-buried crimes. "We don't unearth the past to shame the present," she said. "We do it to stop the rot from spreading." Polite applause followed. But Rosalind noticed a man in the back row face obscured by a cap, coat too long for the weather. He slipped out before the talk ended. Voss followed. Chase through the cold. Outside, snow drifted down in lazy spirals. Voss tailed the figure through the museum courtyard and into the adjacent alley. "Stop," he called. The figure ran. Voss gave chase. They turned down narrow stone paths between shuttered market stalls until the man slipped into an underground stairwell leading to the museum's storage wing. Voss followed, pistol drawn, footsteps echoing, but the stairwell was empty. No door. No sound. Just a wall at the bottom with fresh mortar, slightly damp. Voss stepped back. Someone had sealed a passage. Recently. Internal threats. Back at the museum, the night guarder man named Jakub Liskawa's missing. Security logs showed him last active an hour before the chase. His file revealed little. Temporary hire. Clean background. Too clean. A message in dust. The next morning, museum staff discovered an altered exhibit. The glass case around Marta's letter had been broken, but the letter was untouched. Instead, a photograph had been slipped inside. A photo of Wilhelm Wintergarten, in uniform, smiling his arm around a young Jewish girl, and beneath it, a handwritten note. This is how silence begins, with the face of trust. A divide forms. Rosalind and Voss debated the message late into the night. It's not just about hiding the crimes anymore, Rosalind said. Someone's trying to rewrite them. Control the narrative, Voss agreed. Not erase the past, weaponize it. Elena was quiet. Then finally, then we don't just exhibit what we found, she said. We publish it, digitize it, make it so public they can't ever bury it again. Rosalind nodded. And what about the people coming after you? I survived, Wintergarten, Elena said. I'll survive this too. Preparation. They began preparing a digital archive, working with Majewski and the Commission. But 2 nights later, the museum servers were wiped. Deliberate. Surgical. Everything gone. Backups? Stolen. The only thing that remained Marta's letter, still on paper. The decision. We print it, Elena said. Everything. No more waiting for approval. No more exhibitions. Rosalind hesitated. They'll come harder next time. They already are. Chapter 10. The Falcon's Ink. The underground press was hidden beneath a flower shop in Kazimierz, the old Jewish quarter of Kraków. Its founder, Dorota Zielinska, was a survivor's daughter and an archivist turned activist known among academics as the woman with the sharpest memory and a printing press older than democracy. You bring me the truth, she said, squinting at Elena over her glasses. I'll make it permanent. You want a revolution? You better have ink. And Elena did. She handed over 3 leather-bound folders. Project Nachtfalke, Manifestos. Photographs of the Vault. The original letter from Marta Wintergarten. Dorota ran her fingers over them like they were fragile treasure. Some of these names still walk in Parliament, she whispered. Others wear uniforms. This won't just get you noticed. It'll get you hunted. I've already been hunted, Elena replied. Now it's my turn. Ink and smoke. Dorota's press roared to life the next day. Pages fed into antique rollers. Metal type clattered. The pamphlet's title was simple. Falcon's Blood. The Hidden War Beneath Europe's Wealth. By Elena Roth. Edited by Rosalind Wintergarten. The first run would be 500 copies. Enough to flood universities, law offices, and embassies. As the pages stacked, so did the threat. Voss sat near the back, coat draped over his chair, watching the window. They won't let this happen quietly, he said. Rosalind nodded. They're waiting to see if we blink. But then the front doorbell rang. Twice. A signal. Betrayal in the basement. Dorota stepped out. Seconds later, Voss heard shouting. He reached the storefront just in time to see 2 men in courier uniforms forcing their way in, grab the crates of printed pages. The other held a pistol under his coat. Elena tried to block them. One man struck her. That was a mistake. Voss moved faster than thought, his shoulder crashing into the courier, knocking him to the ground. The gun clattered. Rosalind kicked it away. The second man grabbed one crate and ran. But the other dazed and bleeding spoke something before he passed out. She told us where. She said you'd be here. Voss froze. Who? He didn't answer, but suspicion fell like winter ice. Someone talked. That night, Voss sat beside Elena, bandaging her cheek. I need to ask, he said quietly. Have you told anyone else where the press was? Elena shook her head. Just Dorota. Rosalind. You. He didn't respond, because Rosalind had stepped out that morning, unaccounted, and now they were missing one of the 3 folders, the most sensitive one, the ledgers with Nazi affiliations tied to modern names. The confrontation. Voss found Rosalind the next evening in a cathedral courtyard, beneath statues of silent saints. "Tell me it wasn't you," he said. Rosalind didn't answer right away. "I gave them just one file," she said. "A decoy, with redacted names. You gave them something. I gave them what they needed to delay it stop. If we pushed too hard, too fast, they would have killed her, or worse, made her disappear legally." "You didn't ask her," Voss said coldly. "You decided for her." Rosalind met his gaze. "Because I've lived longer, and I know what war with shadows costs. Another way forward." Back at the press, Dorota had saved half the run. They printed again, and this time Elena added a preface. "If you're reading this, then someone wanted you not to. That's why it matters. These pages are not revenge, they are a warning. That silence has always been the most obedient weapon. The world reacts." Within 2 days, the pamphlets flooded inboxes and mailboxes. Within a week, a parliamentary inquiry was called in Vienna. A retired general vanished from his home. A journalist in Prague was arrested, and an unsigned editorial appeared in a major European paper titled "The Heirs of Silence." No one named Eleanor Roth, but everyone knew who it was. Elena decides. "Are you ready for the next part?" Voss asked her one night, as they watched snowfall blur the city lights. "What's the next part?" "They'll try to turn the story around, paint you as unstable, or bitter, or false." She nodded. "Then we go bigger." "How?" She smiled. "We find the last vault, the one not even Wilhelm catalogued." Voss raised an eyebrow. Rosalind, who had just joined them, finished the thought. "It's in Switzerland," she said, "and it holds the names of the men who wrote the orders, not just carried them out." Chapter 11. The Alpine Ledger. The Swiss Alps rose like white stone sentinels, cold and silent. As the train wound its way through steep valleys and glacial passes, Elena sat opposite Voss and Rosalind, a folder in her lap, her eyes fixed on the snow-covered peaks outside. Inside the folder, a sketch of a private estate near Saanen, acquired in 1947 under a shell corporation based in Argentina. The signature on the deed? H. Faulkner, an alias used by Wilhelm Wintergarten, confirmed by Rosalind years ago during her own fugitive exile. "You think the ledger's still there?" Elena asked. Rosalind nodded. "Wilhelm always said the Swiss vault was for insurance. He didn't trust Berlin, and after the war, he didn't trust Vienna either." Voss folded his arms. "If the original ledger survived, it'll name collaborators, financial backers, diplomats, men who never wore uniforms but built the war." "And if it's gone?" Elena asked. "Then we find who moved it, and why." Arrival in Saanen. The town was small quaint chalets, discreet banks, locals who valued silence over curiosity. The Wintergarten estate, long believed abandoned, lay 3 kilometers outside the village, nestled in a pine grove behind an iron gate marked simply Gutshof Faulkner. They didn't go in right away. Instead, they booked rooms at a nearby inn and began asking careful questions. Most doors stayed closed, but an old groundskeeper, half drunk on schnapps, muttered one name: Der Tintenmeister, the innkeeper, the keeper of secrets. Ernst Keller was a retired banker turned antiquarian who once helped maintain the Gutshof Faulkner library. They found him living in a cottage by the train station, surrounded by ledgers, stamps, and old fountain pens. When Voss mentioned Wilhelm Wintergarten, Keller flinched. "You're not the first to come looking," he said. "Who else?" Keller glanced at Elena. "A man with grey gloves, and a woman in a red coat, about 6 months ago. Said they were historians. Did they find anything?" "No, because I moved it." "Moved what?" Elena asked. "The ledger. The one he kept hidden even from his family." Keller reached into a drawer and pulled out a metal key wrapped in oilcloth. The vault. That night, under cover of falling snow, they entered the estate. The grounds were overgrown, the manor dark, its windows blinded with shuttered steel. But Keller led them around the side, to a cellar door embedded in the hillside. Inside, a private vault. The walls were lined with filing drawers, all labelled in Wilhelm's precise hand. But Keller walked past them all and opened a hidden compartment in the floor. Inside, a black leather, bound ledger, brittle but intact. No title, just a falcon emblem embossed on the cover. He handed it to Elena. "It's yours now." But it was meant for a different kind of war. The ledger's contents. They opened the book at the inn that night, candles flickering. Inside, handwritten names, wire transfer codes, account numbers, deposits made between 1,939 and 1,951. Dozens of them. Bankers, politicians, Vatican intermediaries, South American safe havens, and, next to each name, a symbol. Some marked with an X, presumed dead. Others with an S, still active. Elena's fingers trembled. "We could take down a network with this." Rosalind looked at Voss. "And paint a target on our backs the size of a country. Compromise or consequence." They argued well into the morning. Rosalind wanted to leak the names, gradually force the powers behind them to fight each other. Voss preferred using the ledger as leverage, hold it like a hostage, extract confessions. Elena shook her head. "No more games. No more pieces. We print it. All of it. You'll never sleep again," Voss warned. "I didn't sleep before this." And that's when she noticed something else. A final page, folded inside the back cover. A signature. Mo. W. Her mother. The final note. The page was written in haste, but clear. They never let me tell her. But I kept a record, too. Look for the copy I left. In plain sight, in silence, in the place they feared most. Vienna. Behind the music. Decision made. They left Saanen at dawn. The ledger hidden, digitized, backed up in 3 different locations. One copy with Keller. One en route to Dorota. And the third? Elena kept it with her. Because now, they were heading back to Vienna, final piece to uncover, where Marta had hidden the second ledger. In plain sight. Behind the music. Chapter 12. Behind the music. Vienna greeted them with a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. By now, Elena Roth's name was a whisper in newspapers, in academic halls, in dark corners of old money circles, not yet printed in bold, but known, hunted, watched. She wore a scarf low over her face as she stepped off the train, her fingers tight around the strap of her satchel. Inside, the digitized ledger from Switzerland, and the folded letter from Marta, her mother's last clue. Look for the copy I left, in plain sight, in silence, in the place they feared most, Vienna. Behind the music. The Conservatory. Rosalind had an idea. "Your mother trained in music," she told Elena. "Before the war, she was a pianist. Brilliant, actually. She studied at the Staatliche Musikschule Wien, the State Conservatory, still standing, still quiet, a place where students played Chopin over lost echoes of air raid sirens. They went there the next morning. The receptionist, an elderly woman with trembling hands, blinked as Rosalind asked about Marta Wintergarten. "Her name is not in our records," she said carefully. "Not under that name." Elena stepped forward. "Try Marta Faulkner." The woman typed slowly, then froze. She had a locker. Still does. We never reclaimed it. No next of kin. No request. She handed over a small brass key with a tag. Locker number 88. Lower Archives. The silent archive. The lower level smelled of varnished wood and memory. Locker 88 was tucked into a wall of forgotten compartments, thin, narrow, the kind meant for sheet music. Elena turned the key. Inside was a single object. a hollowed-out metronome, lacquer cracked with age. She lifted the top gently. Inside, a microfilm cartridge, marked with initials in fading ink M.W. Voss exhaled slowly. Her own ledger, the musician's ledger. They viewed the microfilm at an old library reading room near the Ringstrasse. It contained a mirrored version of Wilhelm's ledger, but from Marta's perspective. Whistleblowing reports, first-hand accounts from victims of Nachtfalke, testimonies of stolen children, letters to international agencies, all returned, unopened, or blacked out. She had tried to speak, and they had erased her. One name kept recurring, annotated by Marta with careful frustration. R. The handler, the liaison, the true architect. And then, a final page. They'll try to pin it on Wilhelm. But R was never under his orders. He was above him. And if you trace the money, it leads to Vienna. It always did. The Vienna Trail. The ledger mentioned shell companies. Bellhausen Trust, Falkenwald AG, R.L. Stiftung, all registered in one building. Kohlmarkt 9, a quiet office block nestled between boutiques and cafes. They visited under aliases, posing as consultants from a heritage trust. The receptionist didn't blink. R.L. Stiftung, no longer in operation. Records were transferred last year. To where? She checked. A pause. I'm sorry, but that information is sealed. Restricted access only. Under whose authority? The woman hesitated, then whispered, Interior Ministry, but off books. Someone breaks. That night, in the hotel, Rosalind broke, pacing, cigarette shaking, voice frayed. I thought Wilhelm was the worst of it, she said. But this goes deeper. R.L. isn't just some banker. He's the root. He's been bleeding the truth out of this country for decades. Elena looked at her, quiet. Did you know? Rosalind sat. I knew someone was above Wilhelm, but I didn't know it was someone still alive, still active, still cleaning. Voss leaned against the wall. Then we find him, and we print him next. An unexpected visitor. But before they could act, the hotel phone rang. Voss answered. A woman's voice. You've gone far enough, Herr Voss. Stop now. Or next time, it won't be a vault that gets buried. Click. No ID. No trace. He turned to Elena and Rosalind. They know we found it. Closing Vienna. As the city lights shimmered through frost-glazed windows, Elena made a decision. We go public. Not just names. Networks. Transfers. Receipts. Everything. No redactions? Voss asked. No redactions. Rosalind nodded slowly. Then we'll need more than a press. Eleanor turned to her laptop, opened a new document. Title, The Music They Tried to Silence. Chapter 13. R.L. Stiftung. Vienna's golden facades hid 1,000 ghosts, and R.L. Stiftunger Shell Foundation, buried under layers of financial abstraction, was the house where many of those ghosts had been locked away, not erased, managed. By someone still alive, still pulling strings. The break-in. Elena, Voss, and Rosalind returned to Kohlmarkt 9 at dawn. No aliases this time. No appointment. No pretense. Just purpose. The building's lower floors were quiet lawyers, accountants, innocuous brass plaques. But the top floor? Vacant. Or so the directory claimed. Voss knew better. He picked the lock in 42 seconds. Inside, a minimalist office space, polished wood, brushed steel, a large window overlooking the Hofburg, and on the wall, behind a glass case, a framed war-era ledger page. One line circled in faded red ink. Sicherer Rückhalt, Project Nachtfalke, Funding Channel 7. Translation, Secure Support. Next to it, an embossed nameplate. Reinhard Lorenz. The man with no face. Reinhard Lorenz. The R behind RL Stiftung. The invisible hand in Marta's files. A former diplomatic attaché who had vanished in the 1950s, presumed dead. But the office was active. Bills paid, servers running, phones live. A ghost with real-world reach. Voss found a secondary system, offline backups, no cloud, password protected. Rosalind stared at the wall. This is his trophy room. Not just trophies, Voss said. It's bait. The trap. When they returned to the hotel, it was too late. The door had been forced. Their backups gone. Elena's printed draft deleted from the hard drive. Even Dorota in Krakow had gone silent, no emails, no calls. Someone was cleaning up again. Efficiently. Quietly. Rosalind's voice was flat. They let us find it. They wanted us to feel close. Elena sat down, slowly, then picked up her phone. This ends now. The broadcast. That night, she went live. Not through the news. Not through official channels. A live stream. Title. The names behind the silence. The true ledger of Project Nachtfalk. She showed the documents on screen. Named accounts. Transcripts. Marta's letter. Photographs of facility. 12. And then the page with Reinhard Lorenz's namias, a founder, financier, and handler of multiple Nazi recovery operations. The stream peaked at 67, 0 viewers in 14 minutes. Then it went dark. Cut. Deleted from the platform. But not before the file spread. Thousands had screen-recorded it. It was out. The response. The next morning, 2 journalists were detained in Berlin. A Swiss banker was found dead, suicide. The Austrian parliament was stormed by protesters holding signs marked, "We remember." And across a dozen university campuses, Marta Wintergarten's face appeared on banners. Below it, a phrase, "Truth is not treason." The cost. Rosalind knew what was coming. "They'll come for you now," she told Elena. "I know," Elena said. "Are you ready?" "No." She paused. "But I'm not hiding." Voss's offer. That evening, Voss approached her with an envelope. Swiss Protection Services. Off the record. New name, temporary clearance, safe house in Lucerne. Elena took it, looked at it, then handed it back. "I don't need a new name. I want them to remember the old one." The architect calls. At 2:47 a.m., Elena's phone rang. Unlisted number. She answered. A voice old, cold, composed. "You've unsealed a vault that was meant to rot." "Good," she said. "You won't be warned again." She smiled. "You're right. Next time, it'll be you." Click. Chapter 14. The Ghost at the Door. The knock came at 4:06 a.m. 3 slow taps. 1 pause. Then a final knock, like a punctuation mark on a sentence no one wanted to read. Elena sat upright in bed, heart hammering. Not from fear. From clarity. She knew. It wasn't the police. It wasn't the press. It was him. Voss acts first. Down the hall, Voss had been awake. He slept in 2-hour rotations now. Since Krakow. Since the fire in Warsaw. Since Dorota vanished. He had a pistol drawn before the second knock echoed. As he opened the hallway door, Rosalind was already there, 2-coat on, eyes sharp. "Basement escape is ready," she said. Elena didn't move. She stood by her door, bare feet on cold floorboards, looking toward the shadow in the peephole. It was just a man. Old. Slender. In a dark coat and wool scarf. But even before she opened it, she felt the gravity. She cracked the door. He smiled. "Elena Roth. You've inherited more than a name. Reinhard Lorenz." He didn't look monstrous. No scar, no sneer. Just a man in his 80s, composed and articulate, with eyes like glass. He entered with quiet confidence. No guards, no weapon. Only words. "I was in Bern last week," he said. "It's beautiful this time of year. But memory clings to the trees like fog. You've made quite a storm." "You're here to kill me?" Elena asked. He chuckled softly. "My dear, I haven't killed anyone directly in 40 years. Voss stepped forward. "Then why are you here?" "To offer her a choice." The offer. Lorenz placed a small leather folder on the table. Inside is a document from the Ministry of Cultural Affairs. A contract. One that would allow your work to continue funded, protected, institutionalized. You'll be permitted to tell the story. A version of it. "What version?" Rosalind asked. "The one that doesn't name living men." He smiled again. "The one that lets you live. Elena's decision." Elena opened the folder. "Read it," then tore it down the spine, page by page. Lorenz didn't flinch. "Very well," he said. "You'll regret this." "No," she said. "You will. The exit." He left without a word. No one followed. Only after the sound of his shoes faded down the hall did Voss speak. "He knew we wouldn't take it, so why come?" Rosalind answered quietly. "To measure us. The retaliation. Within hours, Voss's license was revoked. Elena's passport was flagged. Rosalind's former assets were frozen, and a government spokesperson called the so-called Nachtfalke files, a fabrication fueled by foreign enemies. But it was too late, because by dawn, the files were already mirrored on 200 nodes, distributed, translated, immutable. The ghost unmasks. That night, Voss received an untraceable email. Just a PDF. A 1,951 military intelligence file. Subject: Reinhard Lorenz. Alias: Ulrich Vogel. Status: exfiltrated Nazi asset. Role: intelligence financier and asset manager under Operation Gladio. Protected by the West. Elena read it in silence, and understood. Lorenz wasn't just a relic. He was a tool, built into the system, maintained. The final push. "We burn it all," she said. "Go public again?" Voss asked. "No. Bigger. We send the evidence to 5 governments, 10 newspapers, 50 universities, and we do it with our names attached." Rosalind looked at her, eyes glinting. "Then we write the epilogue in real time."